We've got some fresh
Hey,
new young
I'm
talent
Luis.
doing
And
some
I'm
things that I know you
Luis.
And you're
haven't
listening
heard
to the
before.
Content is Profit podcast.
We spent the last 4 years learning the strategies and techniques from some of the top marketers in the world on how to create content that turns into profit.
If you want to learn how to turn that content into profit, go to contentisprofit.com. Yeah.
Guys, today we have awesome guests, and we're gonna talk all about yoga, frameworks, millions of dollars. Wow, the toys here are gonna be a little troublesome.
Your mini Fonzie just failed. And
We're
then
just,
it killed my
knocking
mini
them
Lisa.
down.
Okay, there we go. Guys, before we get started, please go ahead and subscribe. Smash that subscribe button so you know when those episodes start dropping on your phone. And don't forget to follow us on social media at The Beast Bros Co.
That's right, and if you find this episode impactful, which I am sure you will, don't forget to share it and leave a 5-star review. Thank you.
Do we have a sponsor today, Fonzie?
Oh, actually, we do, guys. We do have a sponsor
we
today.
almost didn't get paid today.
Who's the sponsor? Sponsor of
Tell me
today's
more.
episode, it is us, the Biz Bros guys, with content momentum.
All
So
right.
if you have a podcast, long form content, and you want the bite-sized assets, right? That goodness for your social media, just
baby.
slide in the DMs. We want to help you out. We want to help you create those assets so you can share it with everybody and grow your audience at the same time.
Sweet. So, now we're getting paid.
Now we're getting paid.
All right. So today we have a special treat just for you. We have two brothers coming up on the Content is Profit. And no, it's not the two of us.
Yep.
It's a different set of brothers. And no, they don't have the same name. But yes, they are awesome.
Awesome indeed. We met them in one of the many conference adventures that we've had. They immediately stood out, and not because they are like 6'5". They stood out because their incredible marketing knowledge and years of experience of growing yoga studios. Not to mention, they are extremely friendly as well. They are like the friendly giants.
They help people wake up and teach them how to help others wake up through a simple framework.
I'm pretty curious about that, honestly.
They're family men. They both have 2 young kids and beautiful wives. They are both 2nd degree black belts in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
So you don't want to mess up with them.
They have yoga studios that have been around for over 15 years and made over $1 million in revenue per year.
Take out your notepads, guys.
Let's
Take them out.
go.
That's right. Please welcome host of the Awaken Live podcast, expert yogis, and the friendliest of giants, Chris and John, the YAX Bros.
Yeah, let's go!
What's up, guys? Welcome.
What's up, Luis brothers? Long time coming. We're super pumped to be here.
Oh man, we're so excited. Thank you guys for making time and being here with us on the show today. We're so excited. So excited.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, disclaimer here, I don't know 100%. I'm not 100% sure if you guys are 6'5" or not. But for us, you guys were so tall, so I was like, I'm just going to put that you guys were pretty big. You know?
It's all right.
You're close, Luis. I'm 6'3", so
Oh,
you got it.
so close. Almost.
Fonzie was like, do you remember if they were like very tall? And I'm like, I think I was just looking up the entire time.
But we need to clarify that we are small.
We're 5'7". I'm 5'7". All right, we're good. Dude, guys, extremely excited that you guys are here because you guys are publishing like crazy. You guys have an incredible story. When we met you guys in person, we couldn't just like stop talking with you. We're like, oh my God, you guys were sitting behind us and we just kept turning around. We're like, tell me more. So why don't you like go ahead and share a little bit of your story with the audience and, tell them, where you guys are coming from and, why you guys are the YAX Bros now and what do you guys do?
Yeah. Go ahead, John.
All right.
I'll let you roll into it.
So this, so I guess we started in 2003. I say if we pull it back a little bit more. So we started way back in the day, around 98, 99, doing martial arts,
Wow.
and we were doing. It was basically MMA back then. So it was mixed martial arts before mixed martial arts became a bigger thing, right? This was just in the verge of the UFC becoming like huge. And it was right around the time where the Gracie brothers were coming into UFC and just dominating. So
UFC being Ultimate Fighting Championship for anyone who may.
All right. Thank you. I had no idea.
yeah.
If you talk to me about something different than soccer, that's it. Like game over. I'm like grade 0.
I'm embarrassed right now, guys. I apologize in behalf of everybody.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
All right. Royce Gracie is like the Pele of Ultimate Fighting Championship.
Oh,
All right.
Yeah.
There you go. Just there you go.
Now I know.
So Chris and I were just huge into it. We got deep into it. We were doing MMA. We were studying a style called we were studying Jeet Kune Do concepts first, and so that was mixed martial arts, street style mixed martial arts. And so we were learning how to basically rapid assault tactics. You learn how to get in on somebody, headbutts, knees, elbows, use anything around you as a weapon. Like it was full blast, and we were training all the time. We were going. And then we realized our ground game was lacking, so we got into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, started training that like crazy, and our whole focus was we're going to have a martial arts studio one day, and so we eventually manifested that. We had it it was kind of backyard out of kind of a garage thing. But it was a legit academy, and so we had people coming in and training all the time, but one of the big things is, we were training so hard, our bodies were starting to break down. We were getting injured all the time and always in pain but we were young. We were like, we're going to just fight through it and just keep going and going and going. And one day our sister was like, man, you guys should try yoga. It can really help. And we're like, all right, we're down to cross train. We're into cross training any way we could. And so we tried yoga and we were like, whoa, this stuff is good.
Yeah.
And so we started getting into yoga more and more and more. And one thing led to another, and we decided, all right, I'm going to go to training, learn how to do this on a higher level, learn more about it. Chris went to the next training, and we came back. We were like, all right, that martial arts studio is now going to transition into a yoga studio, and that was kind of the birth of the yoga studio. We got back from training, started teaching a couple years later. In 2005, we opened up our first yoga studio, Hot House Yoga. Yeah,
And then from that point, little fast forward. 2007, we opened up our second one. We renovated the first one in 2009, and then we opened up third and fourth in 2012 and 2015.
Wow.
And at that point, we were grossing close to $4 million a year between all 4 studios. Wow. But what was happening, all of our lives, there's 4 partners at that point. So John and I are 2 of 6 kids in the family. And our other brother, Jimmy, was part of the partnership and one of our good friends. And everyone was just kind of moving different directions. John and I, we were at this point, had a couple kids, and, our life transformed so drastically in that time. And everyone else's too, that all the partnership just started kind of deteriorating. The best analogy is that it was like a shoe that didn't fit anymore. Yeah. And so in 2017, January 1, we dissolved the partnership. John and I remained partners. We took 2 studios and the YAX yoga concept. So we have Hot House Yoga, brick and mortar yoga studios. Okay. YAX yoga concept is the kind of the education company where we teach students how to become teachers. We do workshops, retreats. Nice. And now we have a whole online business wrapped around that. That's been going on for John and I being just solo partners in this since 2017.
Yeah.
Right around that same time of the split, guys, we also started studying internet marketing and realizing that this was the internet was something that was going to stick around for a little while. So we were like, we should understand how to shift our marketing on that way. Prior to that, guys, we were doing all of the traditional style marketing, which is really, you can't measure it. Right?
Oh,
direct
man.
response.
And it's so expensive.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, we threw a lot of money away. We burned a lot of money doing that. But and then we got into internet marketing and really realizing that that this is legit. And so
direct response marketing is the way to go.
Yeah. And so we transitioned with that into our businesses.
I just want to do that because I come from the brick and mortar fitness industry, and this was my constant battle when I was working in the industry or I trying to sell and convince the ownership of these studios that this is the way to go. So I just want to say that, and I'm just gonna clip that and send it to them. Be like, look at this guys, they're super successful, and look at what they do. Sorry, continue.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so because of that, because of going to the conferences, and there was that one funnel hacking live, I think it was, that everywhere we turned, you guys were there. Every single day, multiple times a day, we're like, oh, there's Luis Brothers. We ended up hanging out. But because of all the education that we started investing in ourselves, we were more profitable throughout those years of he and I taking over than we had been at any point in our history.
Wow.
And so it's just a testament to one, I think the people that we were studying from, Russell Brunson, Steve Larson, all the new age marketing geniuses, Josh Forties, and all the network that we tapped into from that has just been invaluable for us. And so this is what's really interesting is we're yogis. For years, all I cared about was how do you teach an up dog and a down dog, and then how do you teach people how to teach an up dog and a down dog, and how do we make it better? And we're nerds on that level, and I want to learn I want to teach you how to meditate and self-realization,
How to wake up.
And so we were two of the most unlikely dudes to learn marketing and how to do it really well.
Yeah.
But it was the thing that we knew was our weakness, our what needed to be shored up more than anything for us to be able to actually run a business by ourselves without our partners, who were the marketers and the advertisers and the finance guys.
Yeah.
For some.
That's incredible.
That's super interesting, actually, because the way I used to see marketing pre this new direct response world that we tapped into as well as on with you guys, was that I thought marketing was something a little bit more sketchy, if you wanted to put it that way, right? How do we just trick these people to get into some places, right? Yeah. And I'm sure a lot of people used to see it like that. But now I find it super curious because I see it more on how can I help people. It's if I really have something that I know is helpful for somebody, right? I want to get it out there, and I need to learn good marketing, right? I need to learn, for example, for us, direct response marketing, right? So we can track it. And I found this super interesting because not too long ago I actually met this girl. She's a yogi, actually. That's the one that I went to yoga class this morning with. And she was hey, I need to get this to more people. I want to get more people in this, because I know the value of it, right? So when you're telling me this story, I'm connecting the dots with that, because I'm she might have not started thinking that she needed to learn marketing. She just wanted to teach yoga. But then since she truly believes, same as you, that you guys truly believe on that, she's I need to learn these skills, right? So we can grow the practice and our business. So I found this super, super interesting. And then the other point that you guys touched on was, wait, are we live? I think it got cut off a little bit.
Looks like we are back.
Oh no, it got cut off.
Oh man.
Oh, there we go. We're back. We're back, guys. We're back. It got cut off for a little bit.
It's all good. This is the beautiful thing about going live.
I don't know where I cut off, guys, but I was saying about the other point is investing in yourself. That was huge. For us, we spent 3-4 years trying to pick up our business, and it wasn't until we actually invested in our growth, right, in these networks, that's when everything changed for us.
Yeah, I there's so much meat in the first 10 minutes of this thing through your story, and I know that was a very fast version, so I highly recommend people to go and actually connect with you guys. But going from scaling your business from a passion to then turn that passion into a business to then how do we teach more people how to do this, or how do we teach people to teach this, right? And then you looked like you have those brick and mortar locations, and then we talked with Greg Cohen, right? They run a real estate company. It was 4 partners, right? And we talked a lot about how do they manage to do that with 4 partners, right? It's not easy, and they've been in this crazy journey, right? And then you guys had a crazy experience too with that, and both paths live to very different ways, but very successful ways, and that's very incredible too, because we can show the audience that it's okay. It's okay if that happens. You move on, and there's different things that you gotta handle on a detailed day-to-day basis, but it's okay because you guys now are in a position that are very, very strong, doing the things that you love, which is incredible. The other very good point that I really enjoy is that the traditional marketing versus the direct response marketing, right? Especially when you deal with a brick and mortar. I see it now And this was like a moment of clarity right now as you guys were sharing that story. It's like, hey, let's use this brick and mortar to prove our concept on, you know, how do we teach these things? How do we serve the local people? But at the same time, let's use the internet vehicle to actually like reach more people, right? We're not limited to a location base anymore. Now the brick and mortars have the option and the possibility to expand their reach, to help more people, to provide more value. And I see in you guys, that's exactly what you guys are doing. So it's I loved it. Like, I'm going through the notes here. I'm like, oh, we should talk about that and that. through this journey.
It's interesting too, like being in the yoga world, it's like for us, the desire to learn direct response marketing and to like really focus heavily for the last 5 years on that is something that most people think that they just need to get better at the thing they're doing. And so what they invest their time and energy and effort into is becoming better yogis. Like, I need to learn how to like do better handstands. And I need to learn how to teach more like in-depth, more like crazy sequences. And at a certain point, that's not going to help you grow. It's just not like, and so it's important to invest the time and the energy into yourself in like, because you can do it in a number of different ways. Yeah. But what are the ways that are going to move the needle to help you have bigger impact in people's lives? And that's what for us was like, oh, this is hands down the way to do it. But what's challenging in the yoga world is how that's perceived, because there's this weird mental money issue that happens for a lot of people in the yoga world where they're like, money is the devil, yoga's spiritual, it should only be like offered for free, and anyone who charges money is like bastardizing this beautiful gift and the spirit of yoga. And I'm like, that's just jargon. It's BS. It couldn't be anything further from the truth, because when you add value, money follows it. So the idea, but then the point I'm making really is John and I at this point had been like, when we started the direct response marketing understanding and like really dialing in like the content that we needed to be like learning and starting to produce. Yeah. It didn't have anything to do with us changing what we were doing. It was for us to change the way in which we were doing it and doing it online. And that was what really started moving the needle for us. It's interesting because of the world we live in the yoga world, what we were doing is kind of like blasphemy.
Interesting.
I want to dive into that, right? Because, going back to my story, like I was in this fitness studio, it was a kind of high-end fitness studio, and we were charging $159 per month, right? And to me, that was a lot of money as coming out of college to pay for a fitness. So like just wrapping my head around that right now, I see it's like, wow, that's so much value. First off, because if I pay it, I'm actually going to go to the classes, right? It's not just $10 that are just going to sit there. But coming from that mentality, then I have to like convince, and I'm doing like air quotations for those listening, right? Convincing the people are walking in that my solution is the best solution for them, instead of like working through it, like why they're here, right? Like, how can I help you? How can I value this? And the first 2 years that I worked and in selling these like memberships and then running teams that actually sold these memberships was a constant battle with that, because then the person, you might have convinced them today, but then the next day it was not really the thing that they were looking for, or they were not comfortable with it. And then it's like, okay, how do I keep them? And it's like, oh my gosh, so much friction. And I think if we talk about the sales environment, that it's that's a pain in the ass, man. Like that's not what I want to do. And then the frictionless sales started to happen, and we started learning about these things and completely changed my perspective. It's like, wow, where do I actually find the people that want to do this, right? That can pay this, because we're providing a lot of value. And if they can't or they don't want to do it, that's okay, right? Because there's more people out there that can receive it. So I would love to like dive into like, especially in this yoga world like you just described, there's that barrier, right? It's like, oh my gosh, how do I charge money? How do you guys go about it? How do you guys educate your people? How do you guys indoctrinate? Or how do you guys find that person that really wants to pay and appreciates the value that you guys are providing?
Yeah. When we first started, Chris and I did everything. So we taught the classes, we were managing, we were doing marketing, advertising, we were doing, we were selling when people would come in, right? And so what we started realizing, especially later on, is that the best way to sell was not to convince, like, is your experience, because in the beginning we're trying to convince them, oh, yoga's the best, it's gonna radically change your life, you're gonna free your body or free your mind, it's gonna be incredible, and you got to do it. And what we realize is that if I would stop and ask them questions and figure out what their story is, what they really want, what they're looking for, right, the problem, and then talk about the solution through my own personal story, all of a sudden they're like, yeah, I'm in, right? It was a shift, a reframe, right? We were doing this in person forever. I mean, obviously, like that's a lot, right? To do one person at a time. So we're like, all right, how do we take that more to the masses and do it that way? And it wasn't until we really started diving into direct response marketing that we realized that what we're doing in person can be done one to many. Right. We just need to change the platform and use that same structure, but do it in a way that we're able to actually reach a lot of people. Yeah. And so that was like the start of like, okay, here we go. Let's work that same process, but do it on a bigger scale. And so that's kind of where we moved to it. But it's challenging in the yoga world. We've been working with yoga studio owners for a long time, and you bump up against that same thing of the money issues and it's all over the fitness world. They want to just train for free. They want to have freedom, right? They want financial freedom, they want time freedom, but they don't actually want to charge for what their expertise is, right? And so you all of a sudden there's this dichotomy that's like they're being pulled in different, it's an inner civil war, they're being pulled in different directions, and usually they end up broke, unfortunately. These are artists. These are people that have a message that are changing people's lives that should be able to sustain themselves, be able to be financially free in time and have freedom of their time. But absolutely, but it's not until they make that shift. Yeah. Well, you answered my question, Matt, because I was gonna ask, like, if they have these thoughts, right, like these beliefs around money. But at the same time, I'm guessing nobody wants to be broke, right? Like, how are they dealing with that? Like, that must be super interesting. Like, because, I mean, are they then just going to live in this place where they are constantly, like in a place of, oh, I need to get this many people, but I don't want to charge them, So they're like doing all the work because probably they cannot charge to, hire a manager or hire someone that can do certain parts of their business so they can delegate. That is super interesting. Do you guys teach all that part as well when you teach now in the online world, when you're teaching all these people?
Well, it's funny. It's been such a crazy journey for us online. So because we had brick and mortar studios forever, and then we're like, okay, we are going to learn direct response marketing, and we want to like study with people who are going to help us expand this. But what do we expand online? What we didn't want to be was just another like, oh, here's all our online classes with online meditations and the sea of sameness, and every, literally mom and mother and granddaughter and grandmother like teaching online yoga classes. We knew right off the bat that like we had to differentiate ourselves in some way. And so we looked at what we had done over the years, and we're like, well, why don't we help yoga studio owners be more successful at owning yoga studios and become more profitable in the same way that we've done it over the last 15 years. Because to have 2 studios and to be grossing over $1 million is kind of a unicorn in the yoga world. Yeah. And we're like, well, let's go help those people. And so initially when we went into it, we're like, those are the people we want to help. That we started a Facebook group. We started like providing content. We got into we jumped into other Facebook groups, and we started just doing the process, offering free value, like set up our Facebook profile. So when they saw it, they knew to join our group, the whole
shebang. Yeah.
Yeah. And then as we got into it, we realized we don't want to work with those people. It was, and I'm trying to say it in a very tactful way, but I didn't enjoy like interacting with them. The mindset for a lot of them are broken. And I remember Russell Brunson talking about it. He was like, they're in like the first business that ended up like crashing and melting down. The story is he wakes up and he's like, I wish I had a boss who could just fire me. And he was a boss. There was no boss going to fire him, right? And it was because the people he was working with, he wasn't happy with. He had to educate them on the basic stuff that just like was maddening for him. Yeah. And so here we were kind of in the same process where like, luckily it was like before we had built anything huge around it. Like we learned the lesson of,
Quickly,
like,
yeah.
Who do you want to work with?
most important
Exactly.
question ever.
Who's your who?
Yeah.
Right? Most important thing.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's going to make or break the rest of your career. If you don't choose your who and you're miserable and you get a bunch of those people around you,
Yeah.
oh my God. Yeah.
I-
You'll burn it down.
I love this side of the story because I mean I think we mentioned it Wednesday, but you know we're helping this person that is a coach, right? And his immediate goal to go ahead and monetize his content is go out and get $1,000 a month, right? That's his very basic thing. And we were going through like, who do you want to work with? Like, who is your message for? Like, how are you crafting this? And he goes like, okay, I sat down with my friend that he does, like, he sells these courses. Okay, how much does he sell? Well, a couple $100 a month. I'm like, well, first off, if you want to make thousands of dollars, why are you talking to somebody that's making way less than that? First off. And second, it's like, okay, describe me your dream person, right? And he's like, okay, well, it's this guy that's from 40 to 30 years, like 30 to 40 years old and has a family and is struggling for money. And I'm like, after that, he described like 10 more things, but I stopped listening right there and I just let him talk. And I'm like, okay, let's go back 10 things back. And then like you said, people are struggling for money. If they're struggling for money, would they pay you this like $1,000 or even $100? Probably not. So we gotta rethink the way that we talk to our dream customer. And that for us was a massive, like when we started this game, that was a massive realization too, because we're like, well, those guys need it, right? But they don't want it. That's the thing. They don't want it. And when they don't want it, it's really hard, and we get into the convincing game, and then it's a shit show.
Yeah. Exactly right. But this is the thing, and so you see this in the yoga world, you see this in the fitness world, you see this in the personal development space. People want to make a change.
Yeah.
Right. They want to be known for, whether if it's a status thing or love and connection, whatever their focus is, they want to make change in the world, but they don't realize that in order to make change in the world, they have to change their world. Right? They have to make the shift first in order to be there to be able to do that. And so what we've coached people with is you can put out some of your best stuff. You can put out free content and put out just amazing stuff that can make a difference for the people that are willing to put in the work. As I say that, I'm thinking in my mind, well, most people actually won't put in the work unless they make it some type of investment. But I digress. You can put out some amazing content for people, for free content that can help change people, but then you can be very specific on bringing the people you want to work with, not necessarily broke people, because you have to first change your world before you change the world, right? You can get people into your orbit that will actually be interested in what you're doing.
Absolutely.
And you guys know it's just tweaking your message enough, or tweaking your avatar enough, being able to say, it's exactly what you described, Luis. Who is it that I want to work with? I want to work with someone that can afford my higher ticket stuff, right? I want someone that can afford, because I also realize, and I know this from personal experience, I know this from working with people, coaching people, that if somebody's not willing to invest, whether it's money, time, energy, whatever it is, if not willing to invest, they're not going to do the work and they're not going to get the results.
Absolutely.
That's just what it comes out.
Yeah, that's good stuff right there, guys. I love it.
Go on, moment.
Actually, I had this question from the beginning, and I think this is a perfect moment to ask it. You said you guys help people wake up, right? And now you're talking about people changing their world. Is that what wake up means in what you guys are doing? Like growing up, I don't remember exactly who said it to me, but it's stuck in my head forever. And it was, you cannot help others until you help yourself first, right? And does it sound selfish? Yes, but is it true? I think it's 100% true. Like, if you are not good on the inside, right, yourself, your core, it's going to be so difficult to actually help others. And actually, Catherine Jones, she just had a workshop these days. And she was like, hey, people don't like to talk about this, but the inner work is probably the most important part that you need to do. They don't talk about it because it's not sexy, like the tactics, but you need to do it. If you want to change the world and have a movement, right, you need to change yourself from the inside out. So is that what you guys mean by wake up?
Yeah, it is. And like, I guess when we're talking about like changing your world before you change the world, we're speaking in basically in terms of money, you know, like you have to like have enough money to be able to sustain and support yourself before you can then go out and like
100%
impact more people on that level. But that's more of an effect of waking up in the way that we teach it. And because in the term waking up for us, it's all inner work.
Yep.
That's it. I mean, you have to recognize that there is like the simplest way to say it is like most people walk around thinking that there's something wrong with themselves. Like there's like if each person is a puzzle piece, there's a bunch of pieces of each person's puzzle that's missing. And what that ends up doing is making them have these like negative thought patterns, these feelings of inadequacy, this lack of self-worth and self-love. And that ends up being the potential that they walk into every experience of their lives, this limited sense of self. And so what we try to help people do is recognize that you actually aren't missing any of your puzzle pieces. It's actually already there. And we help you acknowledge and realize that, because once you've fixed that foundation, now we can go about talking about how do you want your life to look like and what do you want to create in your life.
Yeah.
So much of it, guys, is mindset, as we know, right? We have to have the right mindset, because like I can't even like get. It's what we were talking about before. If I can't even get around the idea of money, like working on myself, working on my finances, if I have money issues, like that's a no-brainer. I mean, that's a no-go, right? It's not going to even happen.
Yeah.
But you take it back even further, and if somebody's walking around in pain, right, constant pain, all of a sudden their work is affected, their relationships are affected, their entire world is affected. So when we work with people, we're like, okay, we'll get you out of pain. So we're going to free your body, free your mind, and then free your life, right? Free your body, free your mind, free your life. Free your body of pain, right? Get you into movement, get you out of pain, get your body right, get your mind right through meditation, right? Meaning be able to in yoga, they call it the monkey mind, right? The mind is constantly moving and moving and moving.
Yeah.
Even when people are having a one-on-one conversation, the mind is rarely paying attention, right? It's off into all these tangents and all these thoughts constantly. Yeah. So people need to do some type of practice that gets them to focus. There was a statistic done. It was done a while ago, guys. So this is probably even worse now. But in the I think it was 1980, but it was the 1980s, we'll call it. The average American's attention span was 20 minutes long. 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Right. So you take the average person off the street in the 1980s, you make them focus on something. They could do it for almost 20 minutes. Right. So that's good length. Yeah. The most recent study that we've come across is that shifted to 7 seconds. 7 seconds, not 7 minutes, 7 seconds. Wow. A goldfish has a 9-second attention span. The average American's attention span is less than a goldfish. Right. This is like, that's a real problem. Yeah. If we want to focus on anything for any period of time, if we want to make a difference in our lives, like Chris was talking about, make an actual shift, change our lives, we have to learn to focus the mind. And this is what's not happening in the world right now. Yeah. Like, people are so scattered and so all over the place that they're distracted. Right. And so if we can get them to that point, then we can free their life. And freeing their life means understanding what it is that they want and where they're going and how to get freedom of time and freedom of finances again, right? So that they can actually feel free on that level. Yeah. But it has to start physically and mentally before they're able. It's the inner work we were talking about. It has to start at that level in order to take it to that higher level. So,
the framework we're describing is called the Awaken Life Formula, and it's very specifically movement, meditation, manifestation. In that order, there's a process and a practice that we do every single day. It's super powerful. Yeah,
where can people check it out? So they go. You cannot teach them like that.
We'll just leave it at that.
That's it. Game over, guys. Episode's done.
Well, I'm gonna send them to your podcast, and if they wanna learn I'm gonna call it the MMM. If they wanna learn the MMM, they can find you at the Awaken Life podcast, right?
Yeah, Awaken Life podcast. They can actually go to YAX Yoga Lab Facebook group. If you go to Facebook and just type in YAX Yoga Lab, it's a free Facebook group that we've designed that we go live every week and we teach some aspect of the Awaken Life formula.
Yeah, that's awesome, and I love it. And I absolutely love the kind of like representation of the puzzle pieces. And you said people have like that limited sense of self. Honestly, like I feel like I've experienced that being around the right people, around the right network, right? I mean, investing in yourself and going to these events and meeting people that they believe that they are limitless, that they can do whatever they can do, like be a part of this massive movement. It has changes, honestly, like it has built our own belief. It has changed many of the false beliefs that we used to have, right? Money, for example, one of ours. And so I love it because you talk about, finding yourself pretty much. Like people need to get to know themselves and it's a process. And with the short attention span that we have sometimes, and I'm guilty of this, like I sit down and I'm like, who am I? What do I want? 7 seconds later, I'm on my phone scrolling on Instagram. It's like, oh, this is pretty cool right here.
You've never gotten on it and you wondered how, like, you went for one specific thing, and then you're like 5 minutes later reading some post by some dude you don't even know.
Yeah,
it's crazy how that happens. And I think it's important to note that we weren't like, everyone is born feeling like they're inadequate in some way, and so like we were, for me, the biggest hurdle of my life was like forgiving my dad. Like he left when I was super young. Like, so there's 6 of us,
Wow.
Like, and when I'm the youngest of the 6. When I was 2, the oldest was 13. And that's when he left for like another woman.
Wow.
Like out, not on good terms, not cool, not in our lives. And that was part of, like, not to mention he was an artist and stayed true to his craft through it all. Imagine raising 6 kids and saying, you know what, I'm going to be a painter, oil on canvas, super talented, but had zero understanding of marketing himself and like charging for what he's worth.
Yeah.
And that meant we struggled financially most of our lives. Like we were on welfare, super poor, mom trying to take care of it all herself. Like, and so for me, that feeling of lack was something I carried for half of my life until through the process of yoga, I realized that, man, if I'm really going to live abundantly and like actually do the things I want to do in my life, I first have to correct how I'm seeing him and forgive him. Wow. And then it was like, now I got to work on my money issues because that shit is deep.
Yes.
Real deep.
And think about that, guys.
Wow.
You hear Chris's story, but think about that with what we were saying before. If and we all have that, right? We all have that intensity of something that happened in the past. But if I can't keep my attention in the moment, right, with actual how life is unfolding, then what do I default to? Right, I default to all the old patterns. All the old patterns of feeling inadequate or feeling like somehow I'm not able to be loved because of that, or feeling or getting caught up in money issues or food issues or whatever the stuff is that literally just are old patterning, right? How we were raised, the experiences that we had. If we're not present for life as it unfolds in front of us, we default to those old patterns. Wow. Right. And so if our attention span is only 7 seconds long, how often are people just repeating these old patterns in their life? And so many of these old patterns served us at some point in our lives, but they don't serve us anymore. Right.
Yeah.
At the 13-year-old version of myself, the patterns that I had then, or the experiences that I had then that formed those patterns, don't serve my 44-year-old life right now. Right?
Exactly.
And they come up over and over. Those are the issues we bump up against.
Yeah.
And if we don't freaking stop and say, okay, I don't want to experience these issues anymore. If we're not present for it, we're just going to continue it over and over again, right? And this is where people get caught.
Do you think that's powerful? And thank you for sharing, guys. Like that's incredible. Do you think people are scared to face that? Like, do you think people just purposely like avoid having to go there? In order to face it and then get better and change?
It's comfort. It's more comfortable. It's more comfortable to be in the known than it is to actually step up and say, I got to change this shit.
Yeah, I would answer in one of two ways. One, I think most people are unaware that there is a possibility of something different. And you know this by anyone who says, I am who I am. This is just who I am. I'm an angry dude. Don't talk to me in the morning before my coffee. I'll bite your head off. That's just who I am.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
Were you angry at 5 when you woke up? You know, like at 5 years old. How about 6 years old? When did you start drinking coffee? At 12?
Yeah.
Was your life a shit show before that? Were you an angry dude before that? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so what happens is we develop these patterns over time, and then we assume that they are just who we are.
Yeah.
And once that's wired, there's no room for growth. There's not even a question of like, should I behave this way or that way, or am I burying my head in the sand, because they just believe that they are fixed. You know, like they are the story of them has ended. Book closed. Now they're just living their patterned life.
Yeah.
But once they know it, then you run into people who aren't ready to feel that pressure.
Yeah.
And the noise that gets created by recognizing that there is actually a way out of, you'll call it suffering or whatever pattern that's like, you know, isn't helping you in your life anymore.
Yeah.
But so yes, there are those people, but I think when the pain gets so strong, people get way more motivated. And so if you can touch on that pain and help them with that initial thing, like,
Yeah.
I know in the marketing world, they call it like the bleeding neck, like fix the bleeding neck first. you
Yes.
know? I'm not trying to heal your relationship with your dad. I want to get you out of back pain.
Yeah.
Let's start there. And then we can help with all the other stuff. So.
Yeah.
But guys, this is literally a physical structure in the brain. The patterning that we're talking about is a physical construct in the brain, right? It's like it's like the scaffolding of the brain has formed in a specific way that those neurons fire, those patterns fire across those neurons to make you do the same thing over and over again, right? Now, and this is why a lot of our parents or grandparents will say things like, "Oh, it's just the way I am." Because it feels like part of it. It literally is part of their brain structure. But what's cool, and this is newer within the last 20, 30 years, that neuroscience has realized that they call it neuroplasticity, that our brains can restructure themselves.
Yep.
Yeah.
If we can program, right, through our attention, right, the mind can change the brain to change the mind is the idea. Right, that we can restructure that scaffolding around the brain to have different neural connections. Yeah, right? I'm nerding out a little bit, so
I love it.
I know, this is so fascinating.
What's going on, right? Neurons that fire together wire together, right? So when we do a new pattern, it feels clumsy at first because we haven't connected those neurons. We haven't really made that solid connection. But the more we do that thing, the more we have what's called myelin. It's the sheathing for those connections.
Yeah.
And so if you have a deep pattern like a LeBron James or Michael Jordan doing a jump shot, they have that neural connection is wired tight and it has lots of myelin wrapped around it, lots of sheathing.
Yeah.
So they're able to do it like, right?
Yeah.
This is what we're all dealing with all our old patterns.
Wow.
There's a lot of neural connections, a lot of sheathing, but neurons that fail to link, fail to sync, fail to link, meaning if we stop firing that connection, the myelin will dissipate and it'll stop. So we can literally, my whole point is we can restructure the brain to have a better life.
Yeah. I love this. Sorry, Chris, real quick. You know, like you were talking about people saying, you know, like, oh, I'm like this, right? And I recently just read a book that they talk about teleology, it's called, right? Which is pretty much people using previous traumas or behaviors to justify their actual goals. And I just knocked down the toys right here. But they literally say, you know, a lot of people say, oh no, I cannot do certain thing because of this thing that happened in my past. No, is the actual thing that's happening is that they don't want to do that thing and they're using that thing from the past as an excuse, right? And then, you know, it kind of reminds me of this saying that is like, you cannot teach a trick to an old dog. That's a lie. And a lot of people believe that. They think because they grew up and they're older, they think they cannot learn anything new, that they cannot change. They're like, these are my ways, this is how I am. And it's because they're comfortable at that point, right? But the thing is, while you're talking about neuroplasticity, we can change. Like, we can learn new things. And I'm gonna give you an example, right? Like, I've wanted to play guitar for the longest time, right? Like, my mom plays the guitar and she sings, and I grew up and I was like, oh, this would be so cool to do it. Like, imagine being at a party, you know, jamming and everybody singing. How cool would that be, right? So when I first moved into the States, right, 2011, I bought like a $20 guitar, started practicing. My roommate broke it. He said it was accidentally. I'm sure it was not. But the thing is, I was like, that's it, right? Like, I'm not going to practice anymore. I still want to do it, but it's too difficult for me. I cannot learn it, right? And that comes too with our attention spam that it's like, we just move on. We just want things quick at this point, right? So about a month back now, I'm like, you know what? I'm actually gonna sit down and learn guitar. So I got a guitar, and it's what you're saying. Like, it feels clumsy at first. Like, I'm not used to move my left hand and, you know, like, do the chords on the guitar. But the more I do it, I can notice the improvement. Like, I do it faster, right?
Yeah,
and faster and faster.
Please learn faster, because some people in the house, yeah.
So that's my point, right? Like, it's like everything. It just takes consistency and, you know, enduring the journey, pretty much.
Yeah. And because what you're describing so well is like, when it's painful to learn something new, it's not fun, it's not exciting. It's like, there's a book called The Talent Code, and by Daniel Coyle, and he describes this idea of what's called deep practice. And he's like, any like sane human being instinctively tries to avoid that uncomfortable zone of learning where you just feel like a clumsy baby trying to learn how to walk, and you're just falling on your face over and over and over again.
Yeah.
You know, and most people, once they feel that, that's too hard, so they'll just default back to the set pattern that's already wired. And I think probably the biggest obstacle is the unwillingness to lean into that.
Exactly. We could talk about this all the time, because, you know, we have like this Hispanic like podcast concept, right, that we started, and it hasn't taken off yet because Content is Profit has taken a lot of the time, which is amazing. We love all the Content is Profit family. But the concept is, you know, mass life. How do you get more out of your life? How do you go about experiencing new things, right? And one of the things that we want to do later on too is like, let's go out and actually go do those experiences, document it. Like, how do we feel? How do we rewire our brain so when we do new things, we feel excited, we feel like new guys,
rejuvenated.
That guys, it's Friday, okay. But like, how do we rewire our brain so we actually feel excitement every time we're actually about to go try a new thing, right? I don't care about, you know, am I going to be looking ridiculous? Right now I have a toddler, right? I'm learning so much from Luca because he just walks and sprints and falls on his knees, and his knees are going crazy right now. And then he just gets up, does stops, and then he keeps going, right? It doesn't matter. Like on the pool, the water takes him away. He like swallows water, gets back up, and like continues, smiles. And wow, what an incredible lesson, right? So why through like that journey, we just become so complacent? Is it like the coaches that we've had, maybe the coaches that we never had growing up, or like the experiences, you know, what happens there, right? So I think it's extremely important that everybody stays very conscious of their day-to-day to make sure that, you know, we identify those moments and then we fight against it, right?
Yep.
Very simple things that we can like, okay, let me rewire my thinking. This is the new action I'm actually going to take. This is a new thing. So then it's exciting to try new things. It's exciting to fail. It's exciting to learn, right?
So, Luis, we get indoctrinated through education and how the educational system is set up to not fail. And this is one of the biggest misses as far as the educational system right now, where the people that succeed in school are the ones that make no mistakes and get straight A's. The people that succeed in business, in real life, are the ones who fail the most times.
Yeah.
Right? They're the ones, like in business, like we network. Like in school, you're not allowed to network. You're not allowed to talk to the person next to you and say, "Hey, I'm struggling with this. What's your answer? Oh, why'd you get that answer?" Like, that's not allowed.
Yeah.
Like, so we're indoctrinated into this way of being that failing is bad, which is insane, because the Niels Bohr, who's a Nobel Prize winning physicist, he said that the masters in any industry are the ones who have failed the most times. The masters at any industry are the ones who have failed the most times.
Yeah.
So I think this is the biggest stumbling block for people, is getting over this idea of failure, right? Because what failure means for people is that if I fail, then I'm kicked out of the tribe. Right? If I fail, then I've been taught that I'm a bad student, and I don't want to be a bad student. I want to be a straight A student, or make good grades. So I'm in the groove. There's artificial intelligence. They've hooked artificial intelligence up to play chess. And AI learned how to play chess. In this study, learned how to play chess in 15 minutes. Wow. No, let me say it this way: learn how to master chess in 15 minutes. 15 minutes, guys. Like it could take on any top professional chess player. Why? Because AI doesn't give a shit about failing.
Yeah.
You know, and even in the terminology, they call it a sample, right? And so in AI, they'll get you in 15 minutes. They were able to get hundreds of thousands of samples, so many samples that they realized what the best moves were in chess.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah.
And so they could master chess. There's no emotion.
Yeah.
They're not worried about what failure means. They're like, oh yeah, I'm going to fail the most times, and I learn chess in 15 minutes.
Or what their family's going to think of that failure.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Imagine, right? Imagine if we took that same mindset and said, no, there's no such thing as failure. There's only samples.
Yeah.
I'm just going to get a sample. I mean, you guys know this in business. Like, we have to get lots of samples. We have to put a lot of ads. We have to put a lot of marketing strategies.
A lot of content,
campaigns,
right? To see which one's going to work.
To see what works.
Yeah.
If I was so caught up in what failure means, I wouldn't be able to do it, right? I wouldn't have a business. It would fall to pieces.
Yeah.
So the bit to your bigger point, Luis, this is, I think, where people struggle most with, is this concept of failure. They got to get over it. Like, there's no such thing as failure. There's only samples.
Wow.
Yeah, I love it. And we're running out of time here. I just wanted to add that I think that's why athletes are so successful when they try to do something else. Because, I mean, you guys are athletes. You guys still surf, surfing, how many, times you fall down and maybe get hit by the board. But you guys did, martial arts, mixed martial arts, how many elbows you didn't get to the face, right? We play soccer. How many
punched him in the face?
Yeah.
There we go. I punch him still sometimes in the face. Whoa.
Whoa, bro.
What is it, Chris?
I said soccer for you guys. How many times do you have to, like,
Exactly.
Absolutely.
to get it right?
Absolutely. So during practice, you fail so many times, right? Then in the games, you fail so many times. And that's actually, I feel like, what gives you that drive of, okay, how do I do it better? Let me keep trying, right? And I have a book recommendation here for the audience real quick. The book is called Limitless Mind. And it actually talks about what John is talking right now about that neuroscience. And he puts it in the aspect kind of like the theme of it is the educational system, right? How actually the US has like one of the worst educational systems because those tests that are meant to okay, do it quick without failing. You need to, multiple choice, which ones are the good ones. And that's it. Whether, countries like Japan, for example, they work during 1 hour, they work on only one math problem, right? And the professor puts it in there and he's like, okay, show me how maybe you can solve this. And they talk through it and they give options and they fail and they all work through it instead of give me 50 right answers as fast as you can, right? So super interesting book if you guys want to read it.
I feel like just this topic, we could just go off for days because it's so passionate and it's at the root of success, right? It's this is the things that we need to understand at a deeper level to level up, to go to a different level. And it's incredible that what you guys are doing with your community, with your people, to understand these things and move forward. Now, to kind of wrap up the show, we have a couple questions, right? These supposed to be quick unless you guys want to go a little bit longer, but that's okay. So why don't you like share some action points for people to actually implement something like very simple that they can get a quick win today and then re-execute tomorrow and do it again? What's something that they can do today to level up?
Maybe something that they can do to start changing their world, right?
Exactly.
Since we're in this topic.
I mean, I guess we'll both have an answer. My first thing that comes to mind is sit down every morning, close your eyes, and breathe for 1 minute. I'll call it meditation, but just breathe consciously for 1 minute and slow the breath down as much as you can so that you're really actually paying attention to it, because what is needed first is a heightened awareness. And meditation, one of the biggest benefits of it is it expands your awareness so that you can see things that you previously couldn't see. And all it takes is 1 minute every morning. Consistency is more important than intensity means. Don't try to do an hour one day. Do 1 minute every day for the rest of your life.
I will fall asleep if I try to do it for 1 hour. That's it. You got me 2 minutes, I'm done. Gonzo.
That's why you start with 1 minute.
Exactly. Thank you.
1 minute.
Thank you for breaking the secret for me.
It's the law of little things, guys.
Yes.
1 minute. I'll add, the only thing I would add to what Chris said is right after that 1 minute, pull out a journal or a book, something to write on, something to write with, and then do a reflection on the day before. This is so important to look back at the day before and don't make it doesn't have to be a huge writing, but literally just 5 to 6 lines. Write out what you value most in your life, and then write what you did that day before and see if it matches. Because what you value most in your life, a lot of times is not where you're spending your time. Right? And so if you write out, so every morning, Chris and I do this every single morning. We move, we meditate, and we manifest. And the manifestation process is writing out what we value most and how we spent the day before, and did it match? Right? If one of my top things I value in my life are family, did I spend any time with my family the day before? Right? And if I go on for an entire week and look back at my reflections and I realize I haven't spent time with my family, I haven't spent time on my health, I haven't spent time connecting to source, whatever that means for you, but I tell myself that I value those things most, then there's a disconnect.
Yeah.
Then I'm not living at my into my highest potential.
Wow.
So that's what I'd add. So a journal writing after the meditation.
Ooh,
That's
baby.
awesome.
The incredible thing is, like, guys, it doesn't take much. It's like 1 minute, and then
Yeah.
you write your 5-6 lines. So maybe you're done in 5 minutes or so.
Confession time, guys. You know, I've heard so many times to journal, and I've avoided it I don't think I have avoided it. I just had never done it, right? And I think about it. I'm like, maybe I should do it. And then I was like, oh, no, I'm not doing it. I think you guys just like push me. And tonight I commit myself, right? To actually...
It's hard, man. It's hard because we think of journaling like Dear Diary.
Like Hollywood tells you to do it.
Who am I talking to when I write? Is it to myself, or am I talking to someone else? Like,
Yeah.
It's simple, but it's really confusing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so making the process simple is important.
Yeah.
Where you say, okay, what are my 5 top values, and then can I write 5 sentences and just keep it simple, because it's a law of little things. One of the reasons Chris said meditate still for 1 minute. He didn't say do it for 10 minutes or 15 or 20 minutes. He said do it for 1 minute, and then journal for 5 minutes. And just make it a 6-minute process every morning. And if we're consistent with that, then we start to see results. And if we see results, we're like, oh, okay, let me add another minute to my meditation.
Yeah.
Let me add another segment to my journaling. But keeping the journal simple, keep the meditation simple, keep it simple. It's this idea that consistency is more important than intensity. Keep it consistent, because that's what's going to start to create the habit, right? And that's what we need.
You said, can you repeat that quote? Is consistency is more important than intensity?
Yeah.
Beautiful. There's another idea. James Clear wrote a book called Atomic Habits. It's a game changer book. And he said that we'll never rise to our goals. We will always fall to our systems. Another way of saying that is fall to our habits, right? We'll never rise to our goals. We will always fall to our systems.
Yeah.
How do we change our life? How do we actually achieve those goals? we make small, manageable habits that build us up to the success of those goals.
That's awesome. I feel like we're having like footing here and we're just eating because I'm like, yes.
Let's go. Oh, man. Yeah.
And for those listening, I totally recommend the newsletter. James Clear's newsletter is called 321. Is absolutely amazing. It's super quick. He sends it like once a week. And he has some really interesting thoughts in there. So I recommend that as well. I need to check out the book, though. I haven't read that book.
Awesome, guys. Well, that was pure gold. Thank you for those advice. I mean, we got way more than we asked for. So thank you for that. And the last one, and I think, it's to kind of wrap it up on content and, the marketing kind of deal. And you guys have been publishing for so long, and it's inspiring to see what you guys have seen. The first time I heard that you guys had a show, I'm like, what, on yoga? What's this? Like, it was just so fascinating to me. I'm like, wow, everybody can really do this, right? So my question to you is, like, where will you be if you did not start publishing?
I'll say that again. It broke up a little bit.
Where would you be if you did not start publishing?
Oh, man. Honestly, we would be back in 2012.
So time travel. Wow, that's cool. Now you're gonna motivate people to not publish so they can travel the time.
What he means, to be specific, is we would probably be in our studios, teaching all the classes, managing, like running. It's the idea of you're either working in the business or you're working on the business.
Yeah.
We would be working in the business if we weren't publishing. Yeah, we would be working in the business, right? So we got, like, for any business owners out there, there's some point we have to take that step, that shift to be able to work on your business, because that's when it changes. That's when everything shifts.
And because publishing is literally the foundation for the entire business, because it's you projecting out your message consistently over time, and you don't know who's listening. And you don't know when you're going to say something that triggers something in that person's brain that says, I want to learn more. And now you have an offer that's on whatever end for them to come in. And that's why, like, publishing consistently is probably the most important thing that you could do for your business, hands down.
Wow.
Thank you. You guys listening, if you made it this far, awesome. And please, please, please listen to the YAX Bros, because, wow, amazing. I mean, look at the track record. They're doing wonderful things. Guys, thank you so much for spending some time with us. Don't hang up, because we got to say bye to the audience here, and then to Facebook, and then to you guys. We'll do the Hispanic goodbye. It's like several layers of goodbye. Where can people find you guys before we say bye here to the audience? Where can people find you?
Check us out on Facebook, YAX Yoga Lab.
YAX
Yoga Lab. YAX Yoga Lab, LAB.
Awesome.
We're gonna leave the links at the bottom everywhere. We're just gonna send the links to people. We're just gonna blast you guys out.
Blast them out. All right, guys. With that being said, thank you so much for tuning into the Content is Profit podcast. Go ahead and subscribe. Don't forget, follow us on social media at BizBrosCo.
And if you find this episode impactful, which I am sure you did, because the YAX Bros were awesome, don't forget to share it and leave a 5-star review. Thank you.
See ya.